Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we are playing Sneak and Breach. This is the more aggressive cousin of the Sneak and Show decks that I've played a little bit on this channel from time to time. We do have 4 copies of Show and Tell, but that's where our blue cards end. From there on we've got 4 Sneak Attack and 4 Through the Breach. So we've got 8 of these effects. So we don't have any of our cantrips that you would expect from the regular Sneak and Show decks. We're just trying to have more monsters and more payoffs and just get those done. And instead of just relying on soul land mana, which we have a lot of here, we've got 4 Ancient Tomb, 4 City of Traitors. So we've got those, but we've also got a bunch of artifact mana in Chrome Moxes, Lotus Petals, Mox Diamond here. And we have 4 Simian Spirit Guide, and we have 4 Seething Song. So we're trying to ramp out really quickly and do one of these things as early as possible and get something like a Worldspine Wurm, which is one you don't see in regular Sneak and Show decks. So this is a 15/15 Trampler. When it dies, you get 3 5/5 Tramplers. So if we put this in via a Through the Breach or a Sneak Attack, when we have to sacrifice it, we get a bunch of guys anyway. So we get to kill them. We don't have to try and find another creature. And then we've got the other things you would normally expect. So you've got your Archons of Cruelty, your Griselbrand, and your Emrakuls. So instead of trying to play cantrips or counter spells or anything like that, we're just going to dump Trinispheres into play super early. This can act as a protection for us. So once we have this down, our opponent's probably not going to be able to interact with our spells. And you may have noticed our curve. Aside from these 0 drops, the rest of our curve is 3+ anyway. So we don't really care about Trinisphere. So that's what we're doing here. Mana base wise, because we are playing Show and Tell, we've got to put in a few extra blue sources. We can't just be running a straight mono red mana base. So we've got 3 Scalding Tarns, 2 Volcanic Islands, and 3 Bloodstained Mires. But we're more or less a mono red deck. It's just the Show and Tells, but we also have these bits of mana which can cast it potentially. Obviously, the Chrome Mox isn't a reliable way of casting Show and Tell because we don't have any blue cards to pitch to it, apart from other copies of Show and Tell. That's it for the main deck. Sideboard wise, we've got things you would probably expect. We have 5 Red Blast effects because we are trying to resolve 1 spell. So we need to make sure that goes through, and this can help us do that. Which brings me down to Defense Grid. This is another card that we have to resolve, that we have to use to resolve stuff. So if we smash this down, or a Trinisphere, they both have similar effects in terms of stopping counter spells hitting our bits and pieces. So that's pretty nice. We've got 3 Abrades, in case you have to stop things like Pithing Needle or Ensnaring Bridge, which can stop us from ever being able to attack, which is not a thing we can win through, so we have to be able to blow those up. Then we have 3 Torpor Orbs, which is going to be able to stop a multitude of different things. Whether that, like a lot of cards in Death and Taxes can do that, but then this can also help us versus the Doomsday matchup, which might be quite a tricky one, because they're a fast combo deck that's also disruptive. Alright, that's pretty much it for the deck. We're here for a good time, not a long time. Before we jump into the league, just make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. And once you finish watching the video, please just send some comments my way. Let me know what you thought of this deck. Let me know what you think of my content in general. Is always interesting. And by all means, share my content to other places. And why not check out my Patreon, which is in the description. I've got a deck guide to Green-Black Turbo Depths on there. It's about 30 pages on one of the tiers. And there's going to be some articles going up if they haven't already gone up by now. Alright, let's Sneak and Breach. We're into round 1 already, and we're on the play, and our hand does not function, so we're going to mulligan this one. What does this hand do? It makes a turn 1 Trinisphere. Is that good? Like, it's not bad. It will certainly beat a bunch of decks, and gives us time to try and draw one of our outs. I think we'll keep this one. I don't know if we're going to want this Seething Song here. I think we'll get rid of the Seething Song. Alright, let's put Trinisphere into play. I've never played this deck before, so maybe my play here is slightly wrong and I should be just trying to go for the combo. Let's put a Trinisphere into play. So we have the mana to cast a bunch of our other spells here. Looks like we're getting Force of Will. Our opponent's already taken the 1 life for it. That's a Force of Will that's not going to hit our Show and Tell or Sneak Attack or Through the Breach or whatever we find. The reason I decided to get rid of the Seething Song rather than one of these lands is if we get Wastelanded, they can take us completely off of a colour, which will be a disaster for us. Alright, it's our opponent's turn. There's a Prismatic Vista. So, looking like some sort of slower, controllier deck. Alright. Let's go get ourselves this Volcanic Island. Let's do the show and tell. Here's a turn 2 Emrakul good enough. We've already got one counter spell out of them with the Trinisphere. We got another one. They could have a Spell Pierce here, but we'll see. Alright, we have an Emrakul. Our opponent could be getting a land, or they could do something like a Shark Typhoon. A Stoneforge Mystic, sure. I have to imagine our opponent... Oh, they got a Shuko. Oh, okay. This could be Cephalid Breakfast. I don't think they can kill us on the next turn, though. Because they need to have a 1-drop and a 2-drop, and they're only going to have 2 mana this turn. But that's some pretty important information they showed us. They're a Cephalid Breakfast deck, because that means these Torpor Orbs become a lot better. I think the Trinisphere is also still very good here. I am interested in Torpor Orbs. Torpor Orb, not great with the old Archon of Cruelty, as it turns out. That's something to consider. I do like defense grids here, but are we... I guess we are probably the aggro, but they can combo us. Oh, this is the part I hate sometimes, trying to work out how to sideboard. Is Torpor Orb better than Trinisphere? Torpor Orb does stop 2 of their plans. Trinisphere kind of stops a lot of their plans too. Maybe we're doing like Torpor Orb defense grid. So Torpor Orb stops the Stoneforge Mystic, and it also stops the Thassa's Oracle from actually triggering. So don't mind these things. Maybe we'll want some more defense grids here. And if we're bringing in some more artifacts, we can get rid of a Chrome Mox. Then which of these are we looking at? Maybe we'll drop a Mox Diamond for another defense grid. I'll trim a show and tell. Seems a little risky perhaps, but the reason I'm thinking about this one is because if our opponent puts something in off a show and tell, it might be enough for them to combo off because they just need to assemble 2 things. What does our hand do? We play a defense grid. If we draw a red source, we get turn 1 defense grid, turn 2 Seething Song, through the breach, Griselbrand. That seems pretty good. Or we can sneak attack Griselbrand. I think we keep this one and we try and draw a red source. Can get punished. We got 2 draw steps to find it. So we got 4 Lotus Petals, all of our fetch lands, our mountains, our volcanic islands. So we should be alright to find it. And the defense grid can be annoying for our opponent as well. There's a Tundra. I'm just going to play the Nomads. Yeah, okay, we might just die on the second turn. Alright, here comes the defense grid. Does our opponent have the win next turn? This might let them know that it's free to go off anyway, but they probably imagine the fact that they saw the Trinisphere makes them think we're not going to be interacting with them on their turn anyway. Should be noted that just us putting in the Griselbrand next turn might not be good enough to win this game, if we even get another turn. Have I got the Illusionist? I've got us on 10 hooks, getting their 1 damage in first. A Shuko. Okay, they didn't have it. Red source. Did not find a red source. Okay. Somewhat punished. Our opponent didn't have a second land. Now they do. They just got the win wrapped up here. And they're 1 damage first. Weird that they haven't gone for 2 damage here, which makes me think they're not actually going for the beatdown plan at all. Oh no. Interesting. They missed the damage by not equipping the Shuko there. Yikes. That's not what we wanted either. Alright, I guess we're going to go to discard. So we're going to get rid of one of these sneak attacks. The plan is now to put sneak attack in, draw a bunch of stuff with Griselbrand, and then put in the Emrakul. How bad is this going to be? Step through. Okay, so we're dead next turn. We're going to let them go through it just so we can see their deck and how they've sideboarded, and see if that changes the way we want to approach the game. Yep, here's the Illusionist. Let's see what's in their deck, and then we can scoop it up. Yeah, so if we'd have found the red source, I think we win this game. We had defense grid on 1. We could have just turned to Seething Song, sneak attack, activate until we find a Lotus Petal, and then put in the Emrakul as well and take away all their stuff. But let's see what they've got. Is there anything unusual here? So far, no. They're Cabal Therapying, targeting us. I don't think there's anything here that's going to surprise them, so we'll let them do that and then we'll see the rest of their deck. Like, we can't do anything under our own defense grid even if we had something. I guess Fairy Macabre is the one thing they could be worried about here. So we just want to see their whole deck and then we'll scoop. They sideboarded much at all? Doesn't really look like any sideboard cards that I can see. We've got Daisies still. They're on the play, so that's expected to have the Daisies. Sure. Just wanted to see their whole deck there. Alright, nothing stand out there that I need to worry about. So we've got Force of Wills and Dazers. Okay. So I think the defense grid makes sense here. Do we want Trinisphere? I don't think we do want the Trinisphere. Is the Show and Tell better on the play? Kind of got a little bit punished, but if we'd have had Mox Diamond, it wouldn't help then because we didn't have any spare lands anyway. Didn't see any answers for our Torpor Orb. Sure, I'm going to submit like this. I think what we've done there makes sense to me. So what does this hand do? Defense grid into Torpor Orb. We just need a little bit more mana. I think we can keep this one. It's a little bit slow though, but I don't think that's the end of the world. Let's play out our Volk and Pup. If they play out our Nomads, we might have to play the Torpor Orb. We want to see something like a Ponder here. Alright, this isn't going to be the Nomads. No Shuko either. Right, we'll crack this one. Go and get ourselves. So I'll just be a mountain, I think. Let's try this defense grid. Brainstorm. So if we draw a Seething Song, then we're in next turn. If this resolves, if this doesn't, then we Torpor Orb. Our opponents shouldn't be able to kill us on the next turn. They haven't shown us any fast mana at all. If they daze this, they also set themselves back a turn. Alright, we're getting a Force of Will here, pitching a Narcomoeba, sure. Carry on, opponent. They got a Teferi, which was the only thing they showed us that can actually deal with the Torpor Orb. And they milled themselves over. Alright, a Ponder. Over to us. Lotus Petal. We can play this out so we can play around days. A Torpor Orb. Now they can just Teferi this out of play, but we can just replay it. So if they have a Teferi, they'll probably play it and plus, and then the following turn they'll minus it when they're ready to go off. So they can just leave it in play for a bit. Force of Will, pitching another Narcomoeba. Okay. So we're looking for Soul Land, or looking for Seething Song. So we've got 8 Soul Lands, 4 Seething Songs. That's 12 draws that wins us the game on our next turn, provided it resolves. We have got through a lot of our opponent's stuff here, so it's certainly a possibility. That is not the one, unfortunately. We can certainly keep casting these things, that's for sure. Alright, opponent, please don't kill us. There's an island. They did not kill us. Excellent. A Simian Spirit Guide. This is kind of an awkward one, but I think we have to go for it right now. The only problem is if we do this and they have a Teferi, that's pretty bad for us. I think we're still supposed to go for it here. Alright. So if we untap, we win the game, but our opponent might be able to win the game right now. They could Teferi bounce this and make me very sad, but I think if they had a Teferi, they might have already played it. So they're looking for one off the top here. Or they're just looking for the other half of their combo to just kill us and maybe play it all out in one turn. Here's a Stoneforge Mystic. Okay, we don't care about that one. A Shuko. Unless that's what they needed for the combo here. Then we care. Yeah, we are dead. Sure. Alright. Yeah, we just missed on land a couple of times. Now, we did board out that Chrome Mox. If we'd have had the Chrome Mox instead of the Torpor Orb, I don't necessarily know if that makes a difference, but it might have done. So that's a bit unfortunate. We just needed a little bit more mana. Yeah, maybe my sideboarding is not perfectly on point here. Maybe I was being too reactive and we just need to do our thing. Alright, let's go to round 2 and see if we can get a win. We're on the play. This doesn't do our thing, so we're going to mulligan. This also doesn't do our thing, so I think we have to mulligan. I'm seeing a pattern. If we find a red source, we can do our thing. Are we supposed to keep this trying to draw a red mana? Or are we supposed to go... Maybe just go for the big one here. Alright. Got to keep 4 of these. So, Ancient Tomb, yes please. Red Source, yes please. A big monster to put in, yes please. A Sneak Attack. Okay, so this isn't enough mana to win the game. So we are trying to draw mana now, but we don't need to draw specifically red mana, we can just draw any mana. And that's fine too. Uh-oh. What is this? Are they gonna Chalice or something? Mountain Lotus Petal is an interesting start. Makes me think maybe some kind of show and tell. So we definitely don't want to be doing... Oh, Rite of Flame. Okay, no, we're in the Storm ballpark here. Seething Song. How dead are we? Ruby Medallion. Ren's Resolve. We've got another Medallion there. A Galvanic Relay. Okay. That's fine. Right, so this is our mountain now. Will our opponent kill us with all of this good stuff they have? Probably. Let's see how bad it is for us. They should be able to combo us off here. Right, it's not, strictly speaking, deterministic. It's just incredibly likely is the thing here. They got so much mana here. Their Jeska's Will cost 1 and give them 3. So they're Dark Rituals if they want them. Or draw 3s if they want draw 3s. Right, it's got Burning Wish here. We just need them to generate enough Storm, which should be relatively doable. Although they've hit so many lands off their exile zone, maybe they'll fizzle here. Like, we still need to do something on our next turn if we get another turn. But yeah, so they get to exile a bunch more cards. The Manamorphose, that helps. That's going to be drawing 2 cards there. Rite of Flame, Rite of Flame. They got a bonus round in there as well, so everything is massive. So they got Storm 9. Yeah, they just need to not hit lands. Like, they do have this game won, I suspect. If they Burning Wish for Past and Flames, that's just lethal. If they have Past and Flames in their sideboard, which I imagine they probably do. Alright, here's the Burning Wish. If they reveal a Past and Flames, we can scoop it up. Fiery Confluence, okay. That deals us 6. Oh, they got a Grape Shot as well. They got lethal here. Fair enough. Okay. These things don't really help. Our Trinisphere does. Do we want Abrades for thingies? I don't think we do. I think we just want a Trinisphere and go hard here. Like, what would we play in Braids instead of, right? No, I think we're just going to submit as is and see if we can get our opponent. 1, 2, 3. So we have a turn 2 sneak attack with no activate. Is that good enough? Our opponent went off on turn 2 that time. I don't think this is good enough. I think we should mulligan. 1, 2, 3. Seething Song. Yeah? Can we keep this one? Oh, this is what our deck does, so I'm not sure this is going to be good enough. We get to take 2 cards out of our opponent's hand, draw 2 cards, and have a... Alright, we don't care about either of these. Which is good. Red. 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 Play this. Activate this. Put this guy in. You can lose a card. Like, they're all the way down 2 cards from their ley lines here. That's not really a great one, but we get to attack them for 9 here. Draw another card. Take out another card. Through the breach. Okay, so we are in the try and find another monster stage of the game here. All the monsters in our deck. Like, Griselbrand isn't technically lethal, but it should be good enough. It's going to be Reckless Impulse. Ruby Medallion and a Reckless Impulse. That's pretty good if they can find a land. Volcanic Island. I guess we're playing it and passing the turn. We need to find a monster. Oh, that's very good. So we get to do this and Reckless Impulse. The wheels keep on turning. Alright, that's not a great hit for them, but... Oh, yikes. We've got all A's and no B's. Okay, there's the Ruby Medallion. Over to us. Monster time. Sure. We've got a very amusing hand. But that's not helping us. A Trinisphere that we can't cast. Sure. Over to our opponent. I'm very much in the spinning wheels stage of the game. Fiery Islet. That is a redraw if they want it. And they do. Sure. Sure game. Why not? Okay. If we can find a land to play our Trinisphere, that's something, I guess. Oh, Griselbrand. Okay, we finally got there. Draw 7. Play this. Let's draw another 7, I guess. Looking for any monster here. Alright. We'll put in Archon of Cruelty. We'll put in this other Archon of Cruelty and kill them right now. Who needs combat steps? Okay, so we got there. But, yeah. Our opponent had a lot of time to get things back together. Do I want Abrades on the draw? Not convinced that's where I want to be. I think we just want to Trinisphere or kill them. Make some red, make them dead. That sort of thing. We can show and tell in a Griselbrand on turn 1. I guess. If we can find a sneak attack, then we're alright. Our opponent's mulligan to 4 here. That's pretty good news for us. Means our show and tell is... Although if they've got something like a Bergie, we might just be able to unlock everything for them, which would be annoying, but... we shall see. I think they assume we might have been in the... sort of reanimated the ballpark, although Mountain Bloodstained Mire isn't that. I don't know. I'm curious why they brought in the ley lines. There it is again. Okay, our opponent's got 2 cards in hand. Oh my god, we drew a sneak attack. Okay, so Ancient Tomb plus Lotus Petal. We cast a Show and Tell. Put in our sneak attack. Activate sneak attack. Put in this guy. Pay 7. We'll play this one. So I'll pay 7 again here. Sure. We'll exile this. Oh, we're not going to cast that, are we? We're going to put this guy into the battlefield. Alright, our opponent's conceded there. We can put the Archon of Cruelty as well. But yeah, we did our thing. We had the turn 1 kill, which is what this deck does more so than regular Sneak and Show. We are the more aggressive deck, as I said at the start. So now we've got a game on the board with a turn 1 win. Can't complain about that. Let's go to round 3. We're on the play, which is not a bad place for us to be. We have a turn 2 Emrakul, which is a pretty good place to be. If our opponent plays something like a Trinisphere, we're probably going to want this Petal out. So we'll play the Petal and pass. Next turn, we can Seething Song, annihilate their permanents off of a sneak attack. A Mox Diamond. Oh, that's another permanent to gobble up. That's good. Caracas. Oh, yes, please tap it. Oh my god. This is so good for us. This is so good. We get 3 permanents here. We'll crack this. We'll get a Volcanic Island here. Seething Song. Cast this sneak attack. Put in our big guy. Eat up all your permanents. Alright, they're scooping that up. We're getting the 3 for 1 there. We don't have a second threat, but we got a lot of them in our deck. So, our opponent is like some sort of Abzan, dead guy, AoE type looking thing. So we're probably going to get hit with discard spells. Which is kind of annoying, but I think we just resubmit and have the power of Trinisphere behind us. Opponent's probably going to be very keen to keep hands with Thoughtseizing. So I have to imagine they're playing if they're playing Dark Confident. It does some of the things we want, but I think we can do slightly better. Okay, I'll keep this. We'll get rid of a... Is it a Through the Breach or a Trinisphere? They're both pretty annoying for our opponents. If I was to Thoughtseize somebody with this hand, what would I take if I was on sort of like a bit of a dirtly deck? I think I'd probably take a Trinisphere. So I'm going to have 2 Trinispheres. We're basically deciding what they Thoughtseize on turn 1 here. Or they might do a turn 2 Thoughtseize if they're playing a guy out. Maze of Ith. Caracas. Chalice of the Void for 0. Alright, that doesn't actually hurt us too bad right now. We'll play an Ancient Tomb and hope to not get wastelanded. So they are in a bit of a bind in terms of what they do with their Caracas. Okay, this is good. This means they can... Well, this is good for them. They can funnel mana into the Caracas... Into the... Okay, they're not doing that. I thought we were going to funnel mana into the... I guess they do that next turn. Sorry, they can't do this turn. They just played it. So we can't play this, which is a bit of a shame. How much point is there in playing this Trinisphere right now? Hard to say. Trinisphere does not impact the cost of a Lotus Petal for the purposes of Chalice of the Void. It still has the same CMC. Alright. We would like... If they wasteland us here, we're just pretty dead, right? Maybe we're not supposed to play that Trinisphere, but I think we're just dead in many different ways at this point. Blast Zone. They're going to attack with a Knight. Right, they're not going to tutor up a wasteland. Looking for a mountain. It's not a mountain. Sure. If we get a mountain, we can Through the Breach in a Worldspine Wurm. Which I think is the best one on this board because it dodges the Caracas and leaves us with some big guys. We haven't got a lot of turns left of this game either way. So let's... So I imagine they're going to get a Pithing Needle and name Sneak Attack here. Oh no, they just got another Mox Diamond. That's interesting. I guess this is something they can get that they can play under Trinisphere. They have 3 mana now if they want to cast a spell. We're getting bashed. We're dead on our next turn. We need to draw a land this very turn. We did draw a land. But if we tap our things, we die, right? Yeah, we're just dead here. Oops. Okay. That wasn't great for us. But we're on the play. Let's just run it back. I don't think we want any sideboard stuff here. Alright, we're on the play. We have turn 1, sneak attack, Griselbrand. I will keep this. This also dodges Mind Rate Trap pretty nicely as well. I'm not sure what our opponent can do to stop where we're going at here. Cast this. Put in Griselbrand. Draw some cards. No Emrakul. We'll draw some more cards. Another Griselbrand. No more monsters. Are you serious? That's kind of annoying, isn't it? Right, I guess we play out a Chrome Mox here. And I think we put a sneak attack under it. Can't believe we didn't hit another thing. I don't really want to just play out another Mox, another monkey here. Play this one out. Go attacks. Pay 7 life here. Okay. So we'll play this one out. Play this one out. We're looking at casting the... yeah, so we'll cast this Trinisphere this turn. And then we'll go to cleanup. So basically our opponent won't be able to cast any spells here. Alright, so let's give it up. They know we're going to have another monster to put in. So we can put in the Worldspine Wurm for lethal next turn. Alright, another turn 1-ish win. Technically a turn 2, but good as. Yeah, like, when the deck goes off, it feels great. Let's go to the 4th round. We're cruising through this one. We're on the play. This hand doesn't quite get us there, so we're going to mulligan. This is turn 2 Trinisphere. Turn 3 sneak attack. Turn 4 go off. Is that worth doing? Do we go lower here? I think we are going to keep this one. So we want to keep our mana sources, which means it's probably this through the breach that goes. We can lead out on a Scalding Tarn, make our opponent fear some sort of counterspell type action here. We could always just play this Bloodstained Mire second and then do the sneak attack on 3. But again, we can just play City of Traitors next turn and play the Trinisphere, then untap, float 3, play another land, play the sneak attack. And if we find any fast mana in the meantime, that lets us go off. So our deck does one thing, so we're going to try and do the one thing. Uh-oh. Watery Grave. This is probably going to be a horrible matchup because they're going to have loads of disruption here. Let's crack this for a mountain. This will force something from our opponent. Could be a Daze, could be a Force of Will. Looks like a Force of Will. Pitching a Brainstorm. Not bad. Basically just a mind rot, right? But it's okay by me. Do we play around Daze? We don't have to. Let's play Lotus Petal. 1, 2, 4, and red. Let's make the sneak attack. So we've got the 1 to play around the Daze, and we've got the 1 to put the Griselbrand in. Put in our friend. What do we have here? A whole bunch of stuff. Not the most exciting. Let's bash with this guy. This is a black creature, so they can't snuff it out. Which puts us back up to 15. Let's draw 7 from the Griselbrand well. Plenty of goodies. We'll play out this, so we don't discard the hand size. Don't have any more fast mana. Goodbye, Griselbrand. And we need to go to discard. So we'll get rid of this. This. We want to keep 1 fetch land in case we need blue. We don't need this through the breach. We don't need this. Trinisphere is okay, I guess. I think we need all of these show and tells. Let's do it, discard more. Sure, that'll do. We can put in an Archon of Cruelty if we need to. So play a creature and want it gone. Death Shadow, sure, we don't care about this. Death Shadow, we also don't care about this. They're not a deck that interacts with sneak attack, so we should be fine since it's in play. Post board, they're going to have Hydroblast for it. which makes the show and tell lines a bit more juicy. Put this in. This alone is lethal. Alright, let's scooping it up. So, what do we want here? Do we want Pyroblasts or do we want Defense Grids? I think Defense Grid is probably better for us, especially on the draw. So we just straight swap those. I don't think we can really afford the Pyroblasts here. I actually wonder what the Pyroblasts are for sometimes, because we kind of need to have all of our mana and stuff going. Yeah, I guess we just jam with these 4 Defense Grids. I don't know what it says about me, but I'm quite enjoying playing this this deck. Very much heart on the sleeve, just can we do the thing? Yes, we can. But it's quite effective. It's a little slow, but it has protection in. We have 2 things, so we're relatively clean from discard. We've got a lot of ways of putting stuff in. Then we'll keep this. Now, the one thing I'm not very happy about is not having a soul land, but then that means we're not going to play into Wasteland as much. But are we going to get a volcanic of this which can play into Wasteland? I suspect we're getting Thoughtseize on turn 1 though. But our hand is relatively Thoughtseize proof. Like they can take the Worldspine Wurm if they want to. But eventually we'll find a guy and we'll put a guy in. They might take the Defense Grid. I think it's either Defense Grid or could be the Show and Tell because that's our quickest route to victory. Yeah, I took the Show and Tell. Right, we'll leave this uncracked. We don't want to expose ourselves to a Wasteland. This also means that we definitely don't need to go and get the Volcanic right now, which is handy. They might have a Daze for our Defense Grid, but that's still a spell that we're stripping from their hand. There's a Wasteland, sure. We are not going to play into this Wasteland. Show and Tell. Basic Mountain. We are getting another Basic Mountain, which is annoying for the purposes of the Show and Tell for sure. But I need to play around this Wasteland. If we get enough time, we'll be able to deploy our things. There's a Daze, sure. That was the thing that was going to happen, but we discarded it. They got 3 cards in hand and the Underground Sea. That was a Watery Grave, wasn't it? Yeah. So they've got 3 mystery cards right now. And we have enough ways to just keep doing our thing that eventually we'll force it through. Hopefully, anyway. There's Watery Grave back. Paying some life. Try to get their Death Shadows online. A sneak attack. That doesn't do it. If we find a soul land, we can try a sneak attack. We only get 1 bite of the cherry because of their Wasteland, though. Then we're going to have to find some more mana. Another Wasteland. Alright. A Gurmag Angler. Okay, so now they've got a threat, so we're under a little bit of pressure. A Griselbrand. That doesn't do it. This is not the first time we've struggled to hit some mana sources in this deck. So we take 5 here. Every hit we take from this makes our Griselbrand lines worse. Although we'll definitely be trying with our Emrakul first, I think, given this situation. Sure, they'll take 1 card from our hand. So that stops the cheapest way we have of putting something into play. Death Shadow is now online. So we have a 2-turn clock. That doesn't do it. What can we even draw here? If we draw a piece of mana ramp, that's not going to do it. Taking 7 here. Then we take 7 the next 10 die. Just trying to think if there's anything in our deck that gets us out of here. I don't think there is, right? If we play the sneak attack, we just die. Yeah, we'll just scoop it up. Don't need to waste our time there. Sideboard-wise, I'm happy with what we've done there. I don't think we need to change anything. This is our opening hand. I don't think it's good enough. Let's send it back. And keep this. Probably can bid off one of our monsters here. Is it the Archon of Cruelty or is it the Griselbrand? Certainly merit to both. I think it's the Archon though. That goes back. So we have turn 1 Defense Grid. Our opponent's mulligan to 5. So if they force of will our Defense Grid, that's going to cost them a lot of their starting resources. Defense Grid. Let's make this Magic game into a Hearthstone game. No playing on my turn. Wasteland is pretty good here, truth be told. It'll buy them numerous turns. They can still have Thoughtseize as ways of messing with us. There's a Wasteland. Yep. Alright, Bloodstained Mire. We're just looking for mana again. It's a situation we keep finding ourselves in. We didn't board any mana out this time, so... Alright, a Cycling Street Wraith. Watery Grave. Reanimating their Street Wraith. Sure. It's not a quick threat, but it is a threat, so... Okay, we'll play out another basic and pass. Well, not necessarily a basic. Another land. Earth Thoughtseize. Alright, they're going to take our Through the Breach here. Yep. And a Ponder. Seems to be slipping away a little bit. We don't have any way of like fixing our draws. So sometimes we're going to draw a bunch of our mana. Sometimes we're going to draw a bunch of our monsters. Sometimes we're going to have like that game we drew all the things to put stuff in but nothing to put in with it. We'll put this Ancient Tomb. So Sneak Attack probably wins us the game if we can find it. Show and Tell probably does a pretty good job of this. We can put in the Archon of Cruelty first and just deal with their threat and buy ourselves some time. But we need to find a way of putting a creature in. We've got 11 cards in our deck that do exactly that. And they're now all castable. And we have this defense grid stopping our opponent. If they play a land and pass, then they might have Force of Will, blue card, plus 3 mana. Baleful Strix, sure. That one's fine. Cycling on the Street Wraith. There's a land. We did not draw the thing that lets us do the thing. I think we are in Pass Town again. So they got a 3-turn clock here. So we need to find our thing within 3 turns. If we can put any creatures in, we'll be fine. If they start passing with mana up, then that's real bad news for us. Because that means they have the Force of Will. And they're just going to ride these 2 creatures to victory. I've said it before, but I think their Shadow might actually be the best deck in Legacy right now. It just always feels really powerful when I play it, and really powerful when I play against it. It just has so much disruption. And it's quite flexible. You can play like scammy builds with Grief and Reanimate, or you can play more heavily into like the Baleful Strix. You can kind of adjust it to whatever the meta requires. Within reason, of course. Get to play Snuff Out, all the hits, right? Can we draw the thing? Alright, so they've got themselves some manals here. Their life total is now low enough that any of our creatures will probably kill them. They're petty thefting the defense grid. Okay. That doesn't fill me with a great amount of confidence. Our Ancient Tomb is becoming a bit of a liability now. Show and Tell, you say. Let's redeploy defense grid. It's an interesting decision which of these things we play. Go and get ourselves a Volcanic Island. We're definitely casting the Show and Tell. I think I want to put the Archon of Cruelty in here. And then we'll pass, I think. I don't think we're drawing the cards with the Griselbrand. And 7 life we might not gain, whereas this way we definitely gain 3. We take out one of our opponent's threats. And this will kill just by swinging. Whereas Griselbrand is something they can chump block. This will actually just get the job done. So I think this is the correct one to put in. Well, we've already made the decision. I'm telling you why I made it, I guess. We will not be blocking one of these Baleful Strix if they attack. Yeah. I would make that attack as well. Dress down. Okay. Interesting. Social Extraction on Show and Tell. Fair enough. Okay. Let's just play as Mox Diamond. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I guess 1, 2. I can crack this. All these. Red. Red. Let's Sneak Attack. Activate Sneak Attack. Put in a lethal threat. Go to attacks. They can't play anything to the defense grid. Alright. I think that's 3 and 1 now. I think. So we're certainly cruising. Deck feels, very strong. We are doing, one of the more powerful things you can do in Legacy. We're not necessarily doing it as reliably as some other decks can, but we're getting there. One more round to go. Can we get a 4-1? We won the dire off with the final round. Pretty happy about that. We can do the thing pretty early. I think we'll keep this one. We have the option of making turn 2 Trinisphere if we think our opponent is a counterspell deck. And that can sort of stop them from interacting with us. So we'll lead out on this innocent little snow-covered mountain. Nothing bad's ever happened from snow-covered mountains, right? So we're either in the Trinisphere or the Sneak Attack next turn. Oh, what was this going to be? A Duress. Okay, so they can take the Sneak Attack, but we have 2. So they'll probably take the Seething Song or the Trinisphere. I think it has to be the Trinisphere because otherwise we get to make a big worm and smack them upside their head with it. Not sure what our opponent's playing. The Swamp Duress start most puts me in mind of... Oh, interesting. Of Black Saga Storm. So we just have the Worldspine Wurm attacking next turn for 15, and then it dies and makes us a bunch of 5/5s. Our opponent didn't seem that scared about that as a thing that we could do, which is kind of worrying. Let's sneak attack, activate this, put in Worldspine Wurm, go attacks, crash, and we'll sacrifice this and get a bunch of worms. Right, if our opponent is like a storm deck, they can probably win through this. Well, not probably, but it's possible. What have they got for us? City of Traitors. Urza's Bauble. This is certainly feeling like a Saga Storm deck. Lotus Petal. Mox Opal. Magical Worms. Infernal Tutor. What are they going to reveal? A Cabal Ritual. That's low-key scary. So these are only making +1 mana right now. There's a Cabal Ritual. They could be trying an Ad Nauseam from a very low life total, which is unlikely to win them the game, but not impossible. They could also just be doing like a mini Tendrils to keep themselves alive. But I think my read on the Black Saga Storm just from Swamp Duress was right, which probably tells you that I play too much Legacy. But alright, so they're paying some mana here. There's the other Cabal Ritual. Yep. So they got 5, so they can do an Ad Nauseam here. Okay, they got an Infernal Tutor with 3 mana left afterwards. What does that get them? I'm not sure if they have anything to get them out for 3 mana. Alright, they were just checking, which is fair enough. They might be like relatively new to the deck potentially, or just wanted to make sure, and it's basically free for them to do so and have a little look. So, what is going to be good here? Trinisphere is going to be good. They're going to have a lot of discard that we're going to have to weather, but I think that's just what we're going to do. We get to be on a playing game 3. I don't think we change anything here. Now, there's an argument for things like Abrade, because they have obviously a lot of artifacts, but our game plan is hit them with our big things, and I think that's going to be reasonable. So we have a turn 1 Trinisphere, if they don't discard out of our hand. Now, this deck plays 10 discard effects, because it plays 4 Duress, 4 Thoughtseize, and 2 Cabal Therapy, usually. I watch Tony Scapone's content quite a bit. He's an excellent content creator you should watch, but this is his deck, and the Mono Black Saga Storm is his deck, so I know the numbers of it quite well. I've played it once on the channel, and it felt real good. Thoughtseize. If they don't Thoughtseize us here, then they're toast. Unless they're on a Saga plan, but then that's going to take 2 turns to tick up. They might have a Cabal Therapy, and they're trying to decide what to name with it. Oh, they didn't play anything. That feels like a problem for them. Trinisphere time. Not really where the Storm player wants to be. Alright, they're just scooping up to the Trinisphere on turn 1. Alright, we got a pretty decisive 4-1 there. We only lost the 1 round, and that was a 1-2. So yeah, this deck felt pretty great, to be honest. It is very fast and explosive. A lot of decks just can't handle it. Let's talk about the list. So, obviously this deck, we did run into a few problems here and there with drawing too many lands, not drawing enough lands, and also having too many of our A pieces without our B pieces. But we have, let's put all these next to each other. So we have 12 of each, right? So statistically speaking, we should have access to some of them in the course of a game. And as soon as you get a Griselbrand into play, then the game is over. You just draw the cards, you do all the things. So honestly, this deck felt pretty good. We managed to wriggle through and even beat the Death Shadow player, which surprised me. I thought we were going to be toast in that matchup. But Defense Grid is a powerful Magic card. I do have some questions about what the other cards in the sideboard are for. Like I said, I've never played this deck before. When are you boarding in Pyroblast? I don't think you want to dilute your deck any more than just the defense grids against those matchups. So what is the Pyroblast actually hitting? I'm not entirely sure. Whereas having another Abrade, I could certainly see against something like Death and Taxes. I guess the Torpor Orb is really good versus Death and Taxes, but you also need to be able to kill Containment Priests, so you're probably getting rid of some amount of like Trinispheres for more Abrades in that matchup. So I could see why you'd have those. I just don't know what more you can sideboard out, because there was that one round where we tried sideboarding out some mana, and that was the round we lost. So I don't think you can really touch the mana in this deck. And I don't really want to touch the payoffs because we don't have any way of filtering, so we just have to get there with these. It was the Cephalid Breakfast we lost to, right? So I don't think these things are things that we can necessarily tweak with our list. And I don't really want to tweak any of the mana either. I think basically, for the most part, you've got 4 slots that you're sideboarding, right? So maybe this could be a 4th Torpor Orb. But the problem with Cephalid Breakfast is we have to deal with their combo as well as their permission to stop our combo. And I think in the first round I played 2 or I think that was the first round or the second round. It was early on anyway. And I played 2 defensively against the Cephalid Breakfast deck because I boarded in Torpor Orbs and some defense grids. And then we were just short of mana to win that game, I think. So if we... I think that was the round we lost anyway. And if we had boarded less defensively, we would have had more mana in our decks. We would have been more likely to go off, and we would have had the right sort of number of pieces to actually sort of do our thing. I don't think you're supposed to worry about what your opponent's doing too much with this deck. I think, you know, you've got some slots to deal with that, and that's about it. So I think Trinisphere might have just been the better call in that matchup altogether, and just dump a Trinisphere because it stops their combo because they can't mill their deck and play their guy, and it stops their permission. So maybe we were just supposed to keep the Trinisphere, and it's just my inexperience with the deck. And now I've thought about it a bit more after the fact, I can see why that might be the case. But again, this card can be a bit slow against a deck that can clock you on turn 2. I'd be interested to know anyone who has played this deck, how they sideboard, or if their sideboard even looks like this one, especially in the Cephalid Breakfast matchup. That was the only one where I didn't feel particularly happy. And I am curious what these Pyroblasts are for. Maybe that was the matchup for the Pyroblast, because we can use them to blow up our opponent's Cephalid, as well as blowing up their Force of Wills on the stack so they don't counter anything. But the problem with that is, we were kind of using all of our mana on the turns, right? We're quite a mana-hungry deck. We're trying to cast effectively 5 drops. So I don't think that's where you want them. I don't know. I'm just not sure what these are supposed to be. I think if we just had some graveyard hate, that might be better. So if we had ley lines that we could board in for the matchups that can race us, that would be fine. So maybe if this was a 4th copy of one of these 2, and these were just ley lines, I could certainly see that as an option. And maybe, I guess you still don't really want the ley lines against the Cephalid Breakfast. Maybe it's a difficult matchup because they've got the combo and they've got the permission. I'm not sure. But yeah, this league was quite a quick one, but it felt great. I really quite enjoyed playing this deck. It's relatively simple and straightforward, so I think it's a good one to pick up and start jamming into leagues. And once you've started playing this deck, you can then shift over to the more traditional Sneak and Show if you want to, because you have the options there if you already have these cards, which is kind of like the main part of it. But yeah, I was impressed. I was not expecting us to go 4-1 today. I was thinking this would be somewhere between the 2-3 and the 3-2, because we don't have ways of fixing our draws and we're kind of at the mercy. But the London Mulligan rule is so powerful for a deck like this, and you can just leverage it to having these really explosive hands that just completely dominate games. We didn't play against all the blue decks either, so that was certainly helpful. But, you know, we did beat Death Shadow, so we can't argue with that. We beat 2 Storm decks, which I think is where this deck is probably going to do better than the regular Sneak and Show decks, because those decks are quite fast, but this deck is very fast too, whereas Sneak and Show can be a little bit slower. Well, I'd say Sneak and Show is much slower than this, but also they have permission. So it's a case of, is going off quickly or having permission more useful? Against like the Galvanic Relay decks, I think permission isn't actually that useful, and it's better just to go fast. So yeah, I think we got some nice matchups, and I'd like to know how to beat Cephalid Breakfast with this deck. Please tell me. Alright, I think we're done for today, so remember to like, comment and subscribe. It really helps me out, and please share my content to places. I'm trying to get some more subscribers and more viewers at the moment, and it's sort of the rate I'm gaining new viewers is slowed, so if you can help me out with that, I'd really appreciate it. And why not check out the Patreon? I've got multiple tiers. One is just the say thank you tier. If you just want to say, you know, cheers for making 5 videos a week here, have £2 a month, I'd appreciate that, because it does take a lot of my time and effort to do these. And I'm trying to save up to go to the European Legacy Masters tournament, which I've qualified for in September, so I really appreciate any help you can do with that. But obviously, just keep watching my content's the main thing, and why not join the Discord below and say hello. Alright, thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.